Doctor, let me ask you something. Have you ever looked at a money decision you made and thought, I should have known better? Maybe it was overspending. Maybe it was avoiding something important. Maybe it was panicking or freezing. And then, quietly, privately, you wondered, what is wrong with me? If that sounds familiar, I want to start by saying this as clearly as I can. There is nothing wrong with you. You are not broken. You are not inherently bad with money. You are not failing some invisible test that everyone else has passed. What is happening is that your brain, a very human brain, is doing exactly what it was designed to do. And today, I want to help you take back your brain when it comes to money. If we haven't met, I'm Dr. Vicki Rachner. I'm a retired surgeon who has spent the past 15 years helping doctors get more of what they want and less of what they don't want. Here is one of the hardest truths for doctors to accept. Being intelligent does not protect you from making predictable financial mistakes. In fact, some of the smartest people I know struggle the most with money, not because they lack knowledge, but because money does not live in the thinking part of the brain. Money lives in the nervous system. And until you understand how your brain makes money decisions, it's very easy to judge yourself instead of understanding yourself. This is where compassion changes everything. I want to offer you a simple model, one you'll recognize if you've worked with me, that explains almost every money behavior you've ever regretted. Think of your nervous system as a 3-story house. Each floor has a job, each floor wants to help you, and each floor makes very different financial decisions. Let's start in the basement with the reptile brain. The reptile brain has one job: don't die. That's it. When it senses danger, the autonomic nervous system prepares the physiologic state that will help you fight, flee, or freeze. Then, once you're back to the safety of the cave, the nervous system re-regulates. Let's call this state of fighting, fleeing, and freezing a dysregulated nervous system. Behaviorally, what does this look like? Well, think of a toddler having a temper tantrum. Well, when you lose money, your brain hears danger. You've probably seen people panic selling, or angrily blaming somebody, or totally avoiding statements, or doing nothing when something needs attention. Here's the key insight. The reptile brain, which is a wonderful job if you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, makes bad financial situations worse every time. Not because it's broken, but because it's designed for saber-toothed tiger, not market volatility. The way the system is designed is that it activates as a short-term solution to get you back to safety, and then once you're there, it rebalances. However, more and more of us are spending time in the reptile brain as we respond to the existential threats all over the globe, all over our local world. And specifically, we're responding to some of the challenges brought on by the COVID pandemic. The problem is that this happens below the level of conscious thought. You don't actively decide, I'm in danger, I'm going to go into my reptile brain and fight, flee, or freeze. No, this is regulated by the autonomic nervous system. This happens automatically. But in a financial catch-22, you cannot respond to financial losses in ways that are going to help you until you get the nervous system re-regulated so you can leave the basement and get up to the higher parts of the brain where your best choices are being made. The reptile brain has its place. I remember one day my cat brought in a baby bunny. Don't worry, the story has a good ending. It was motionless. I took the little bunny out of the cat's mouth to discover that it was not injured in any way. As I examined it, it jumped out of my hands and ran out the door. Playing dead may have saved its life. The problem is that modern threats are not managed well with fighting, fleeing, or freezing. There is one other defense in the reptile brain: fawning. In the hunter-gatherer days, we required our tribes to keep us safe. We biologically experience a need to fit in. Sometimes we spend to keep up with the Dr. Joneses. In fact, some physicians look rich at the expense of their financial health. They can't afford their spending. People-pleasing and perfectionism and procrastination are all ways of playing defense so that we can stay in the tribe. They generally do not serve you very well. Almost in every case, when the reptile brain makes financial choices, you move further away, not closer, to optimal financial health. So, we're safest in the cave. Why would we ever leave? That's the goal of the paleo brain. The paleo brain evolved to help our ancestors live in an unpredictable world. Its job is simple: seek pleasure and avoid pain. And when it comes to money, the brain shows up most clearly around financial windfalls, raises, bonuses, inheritances, big months. The paleo brain says, enjoy this now, you deserve it, why wait? In a modern, high dopamine world, one-click shopping, instant gratification, endless comparison, the ancient system is constantly being activated. Again, this is not a character flaw or a moral lapse. This is biology meeting the modern world. For the paleo brain, there is never enough. It always wants more. Pain and pleasure are temporary states. The body comes back into balance, just like the dysregulated nervous system comes back into balance. Then there's the top floor. That's the planning brain. This is the part of the brain that can imagine a future that doesn't exist yet and create it. It's where values live. It's where perspective lives. It's where delayed gratification lives. And this is where a life of true wealth is imagined and then created. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Without active intervention, most people don't live from this part of the brain, not because they can't, but because the planning brain is younger, slower, and quieter than the others. This brings us to the most important skill I teach. Not budgeting, not spreadsheets, not discipline. It's actively managing your brain. The goal is not to eliminate the reptile or the paleo brain. The goal is to notice when they are in the driver's seat and choose differently. When you can say, oh, this is my reptile brain reacting to something it thinks is going to threaten my life. Or, oh, this is my paleo brain chasing relief or pleasure. When you can say, oh, my reptile brain is reacting as though my life is threatened. Or, oh, this is my paleo brain chasing pleasure. Then you create space. And in that space, your planning brain can step back in. That's where choice lives. Here's what I want you to hear most clearly. Judgment shuts down learning. Compassion opens it. There's always a reason that you do the things that you do. When you replace what's wrong with me with what part of my brain was running the show and why, everything changes. You stop wasting energy on shame. You start using information instead, and that's how better outcomes are created. So here's what I invite you to do this week. Don't change anything at all. Just notice. Next time you make a money decision, big or small, pause and ask, which brain is making this choice? That question alone begins to rewire the system. So, doctor, you are not broken. Your brain is ancient, your world is modern, and your job is not perfectionism. It's awareness. When you take back your brain, you take back your choices. And when you do that, building a life of true wealth becomes possible. Not because you're harder on yourself, but because you finally understand yourself. I'm glad you did. Do you like this? Click here to get more.